hello, and welcome again to yet another Dean Wright show. I hope you've all had a wonderful new year. I hope you've all got what you was wanting from Santa. I hope you got everything you wanted. And if you had a birthday like me on New Year's Day, me at the age of 56 now, I tend to want to forget birthdays and keep them very low key. So we were supposed to go up to the in-laws for some lunch, but we decided to just cook at home. My partner got me some little gifts and a card, but apart from that, I don't really want to celebrate birthdays anymore. I dread them as I get nearer and nearer my pillar nirvana, my eventual offing from this reality that we live in, this false reality that we live in. But unfortunately, we all come back, so we've got it all to come back to. That's why we need to start fighting now, so it's not worse when we get reincarnated in our next lives. That's what we have to think about. If we all had the view of believing in reincarnation, we would do something about it now, because we'd all be going, well, I'm coming back after I've died, so I don't want it to be worse. I need to do something about it now. Perhaps that's one of the reasons why they don't want us to know about reincarnation. Who knows? But I hope you had a good new year, and let's hope and pray to the Lord God Almighty that 2023 is going to be brighter. I doubt it. I don't want to sound miserable or anything like that, but I think things are going to get worse before they get better. The masses have got to get to a point where they get that pissed off that they take charge. And I'm hoping that comes sooner rather than later, because we need a revolution here, guys, because it's slowly slipping away. But I'm here in my small, tiny little way to try and spread some truth about our real reality here. Hello to all my new subscribers. Welcome to the Dean Wright Show, and welcome to the Flat Earth Reality channel on all my other platforms. Welcome to you all. Welcome to my old subscribers, the ones who are stuck in there from the beginning. You always deserve a mention every time I do a show. Thank you to all my emailers. I got some emails on New Year's Day, believe it or not, from people. Thank you very much for your emails. I will get back to you when I get time. Things are just slowly getting back to normal now. Holidays are over, kids will be back at school, and we can just get on with our humdrum existence. Well, I try to keep mine as exciting as I possibly can, since that's why I'm here. I believe in lifelong learning. Doesn't matter whether you're 5 years old or 65 years old or 75 years old. You've got to have a positive outlook. I keep doing my meditation, keep doing my martial arts, keep myself fit and healthy, drinking distilled water, and just trying to lead a positive and harmonious life. That's all we can do, and the universe will look after you. Pray to God every day and keep him in my life, because with him I'm far, far stronger. But we will prevail in the end. It's just a question of when. We always do. This shit they've tried to pull this shit before in the past, thousands of years ago. There's nothing new under the sun happening here, guys. So this week, as I always do when we start the housekeeping, I'm actually going to make the housekeeping the main theme of this show. You know, I'm always talking about my version of reality, so we'll bring that up. And where is it? And here it is. This is my standard version of reality, but I want to expand on that, because I'm always saying that it's bigger than that. That's why I showed you the image, the opening image there for the show. So what I'm going to move on to, I'm going to move on from that and onto this. This is more like what I think's going on. But there is a channel, a Spanish channel called Nos Confunden, which I think translates to, probably some of you guys watching will know what it means. I think it's no confusion. But they're the only other channel that I know of that have the same sort of belief that I do, that there is a big, massive amount of other civilizations around us. Because there are no extraterrestrials, as we all know here on this channel. There are only extraterrestrials. And I'm going to show you the Nos Confunden map, but I only got like a blurry image of it because They want to sell you the posters. I'm going to show you a video of theirs, and they've got Noscom funding, and they keep all over the video. They don't want you to get a clear image of it. They want you to buy the poster or buy the book. They're very commercial, but they are on the right track as far as I'm concerned. And this is their image here. Where is it? This one. Terra Infinita map. 178 worlds under the Great Dome. So obviously there's a Great Dome. I don't know how it works, but there's one big dome there or there's individual domes. But there's 178 of these different civilizations. Now, just to bear with me on this, I'm going to take to this. Not that one. Got the wrong one. This one. Planet. A smaller subsection or fraction of a much larger plane. So when the powers that be talk about planets, because they've changed the definition of it, when somebody says planet to you now, you automatically think of a ball. It's not. It's a planet. Planet. And it's a smaller section or subsection or fraction of a much larger plane, which fits this scenario beautifully. Now, just to orientate you, that says at the centre. Funny how we're at the centre of this bigger plane here as well. Obviously this can't be verified. Well, the powers that be can verify it because they know exactly what's going on. The high-ranking Freemasons will tell you what's really going on. They know what's going on. But all we can do is try and work out in our minds what's really going on. So when people talk about other planets, and I'm going to show you a politician talking to people from far away on other planets. Now, did he go out there? Did they come here? And most people would go, oh, well, they must have been travelling billions of light years. No. If this is true, then he's just getting on a plane or getting on an underground tunnel system that we've got and going to some of these other civilizations here. And we're going to look at books that tell stories of this first-hand experiences of people who've met people beyond our known continent system. There's another map here. This is a Noscom funding map, but it's a lot clearer so you get a better idea. Lands of Saturn, lands of Venus, celestial lands, terra incognita, Anunnaki's land, lands of Neptune, lands of Mars. So when they talk about these different planets, yeah, they are planets. If we can change the definition in our mind of what a planet is, then it's absolutely correct. And one of the ex-leaders of the European Union, Jean-Claude Juncker, who was a well-known alcoholic, is seen in the European Parliament talking about this very subject. Because I'm trying to bring you stuff that leads credence and proof to my hypothesis. Okay? So what I want to do is, I'm going to bring that down. And that one. 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 And show you this from Jean-Claude Juncker. What he says in the Parliament. So just take that down for a minute and we'll play this video. Very interesting what he says here. Okay? So let's listen to this.
European leader, Mr. Juncker.
Who's drunk there, by the way?
So
let's just stop this. You should know that those who serve as observers from afar are concerned. Okay? I have met and listened to several leaders of other planets. Right? Planets. A smaller subsection or fraction of a much larger plane. Bear that in mind, please. Because if we're going by this map, or in fact this map, yeah, then we're onto something here. Because also what I noticed in this video was, he's talking about this subject matter as though it's aliens from other planets, and not one person in this Parliament is batting an eyelid. And I'll show you something else as well. Watch this.
J'ai entendu et écouté plusieurs des dirigeants d'autres planètes qui sont très inquiets.
They are very worried because they ask questions about the path the European Union will pursue.
Parce qu'ils s'interrogent sur la voie que l'Union européenne va.
Just to stop it here, this guy here is a very famous English politician. is called Nigel Farage, and he was in head of the Brexit party and got Great Britain out of Europe. He led the campaign and won it. Nigel Farage, big media personality. Now, he's listening to Jean-Claude Juncker just saying they are very worried because they ask questions about the path the European Union will pursue. He's already said planets and those from afar. He's not even looking up while he's saying it. If it was me or you'd go like that. What are you saying? You talk about, if you didn't know the world was flat and you thought we were living in space and planets, you'd go, aliens? He's just expressly said those from afar are concerned on other planets. But not one person there is batting an eyelid. Think about that. We should therefore reassure the Europeans and those observers from far away.
Et les Européens et ceux qui nous observent de plus loin.
And that's that. So that's just a little clip there. I mean, looking at that, the fact that they never batted an eyelid while he was saying that is astounding to me. Is absolutely astounding to me. So now I'm going to move on to this one. Now, this is a guy called Phil Schneider. Now, Phil Schneider... Sorry about that. Phil Schneider was a well-known... not an abductee, but he worked for the American government as a geologist and archaeologist, and he was working for a private company to drill now near Area 51 to build tunnels under Area 51. Now, his grandfather was a Nazi who came over from Germany and was given a job under Project Paperclip to work on the Philadelphia experiment and stuff like that, and their naval technology. So he was already an insider, and that's how he got these jobs, because his old man was very well respected in the intelligence community, especially in the war. And so he got this job to blast these holes to start these caves, these underground tunnels. And he came across aliens, and he killed one of them. And then afterwards, he got severe injuries, lost fingers, and all sorts of stuff. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the Phil Schneider story. I came across Phil Schneider in 2006, 2007, and they ended up killing him. He was garroted, choked on his own tube, because he was a very ill man on a lot of drugs and stuff like that. But it's when he came off the drugs, that's when he started remembering stuff. That's when he started talking, and that's when they got rid of him. Now, what he's going to specifically talk about here is this. If we're going on the notion, yeah, because this is a better image, that these are planets, right, and they're surrounding us, and there are other civilizations on there. Now, Phil Schneider's going to talk about a guy, an alien called Valiant Tor, and he has a picture of him. I'm going to show you a better image of him, but this is just more proof to the hypothesis that this is what's really going on. This is what's really going on around us. These are the planets. I've just showed you a prominent European politician, Jean-Claude Juncker, talking about speaking to people from other planets far, far away. He said it. I showed you in the video. Nobody even batted an eyelid when he said it. So this is how within the know this common knowledge is. Okay, to those in the know. So what I'm going to go to next is I'm going to go to this video here. So I'll just get rid of this music here. Just give me a second. Put that on pause and full screen. And let's have a listen, because he's going to tell you a little bit about it, and then he's going to show you a photo.
This was in late August of 1979. Now, you got a regular suit of clothes, you got a regular clothes on, plus you're in almost like a spacesuit environment, and you're reaching for a gun. It's not the easiest thing to do, and then to pop a clip in it and start shooting. And I killed two of them. Yes, they're mortal, and they do.
Just to quickly say, he's been lowered down on a basket after they've blown these holes, and this stench and this stink came up, and he's been lowered down on a basket to go and see what's going off down there. He's seen these aliens down there, and now he's just loaded his gun up.
Die. However, in the process, One of them did this. All I remember is that he just kind of waved his hand in front of his chest, and the next thing I know, this blue beam hit me and just literally opened me up like a fish. And burnt my fingers right off of me. And it was some form of electrical force, because the kind of like being hit by a lightning bolt burned all my toenails off of me. Completely crispy crittered my left foot. Burnt the shoe right off of me. All I remember is the smoking remains, and I'm still conscious, but in and out of, I didn't remember much. And there was a Green Beret that was right behind me that risked his life. In fact, he died. But he risked his life. He shoved me back in the dash and hit the button and took me up. And I wouldn't be alive talking to you today if it wasn't for him. I'm forever indebted. He lost his life. 66 Secret Service agents, Green Berets, Black Berets, crack troops lost their lives because the government, our United States government, lied, did not tell us anything about the alien threat. There's a war underneath there, and I'm talking dead serious. It's been going on since that time. Since late August of 1979, our military, the Russian military, basically the militaries of the world, have been in constant conflict with the outer space alien. The small gray, the large gray, the reptilians, the whole thing. There are 11 distinct races of aliens. 2 are benevolent. 1 had to leave here in a hurry because their world is under attack, both on the surface as well as underground. There, the Pleiadians. They're familiar. Maybe some of you are familiar with that. Would some of you raise your hands who've heard of Billy Meyer and some of the, very good, about half the group. Well, Billy Meyer is one of these lucky people that they figured, well, he's kind of a simple type, we'll show him everything. Well, these are the benevolent aliens, and they've been here helping us. In fact, I have a picture, let me reach for it here. I have a picture of one of the aliens been working for the United States Pentagon for the last 58 years. His name is Val Valiant Thor.
And I'm going to show you a clearer image of that now. Okay, so this is the image that he's showing you. Val Valiant Thor is right there. So when I take to this, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's the same image. That is Val Valiant Thor. Okay, some people also say that it's this guy here, but when I read you the story of Val Valiant Thor, it mentions another one of these extraterrestrials with him, right? So you've got these 2 images here, the one I've just showed you and that one there. That's the one that Phil Schneider is showing you right there. Okay, that's the image, Val Valiant Thor. Okay, so let's just go back so you know what you're looking at.
He's right here. There's my father in the background. This whole place, the ready room of the USS Eldridge, Al Bielek has probably explained, or maybe even shown you this picture. There's a list of some of the notable people in it. They're all the atomic bomb scientists of the day, all the time variant experimentalists of the day, all the top physicists of that particular day. This was in August of 1943. Now this guy has not changed 1 iota in 58 years. Started work, he came here, crashed here or whatever, whether he's under duress or not. He started work for our U.S. Navy and military operations in 1937, either 37 or 38 is what I've been told. So it's, for 58 years, this man's been employed, probably under duress. If you don't do as we say, we're just going to use you for alien bait or something, I don't know. But anyway, he basically hasn't changed. He lives for 490 years, is what he says his lifespan is. Now, he's supposedly a semi-benevolent, he's a human-looking type person. He has 6 fingers and 6 toes, and he's got 1 oversized heart, 1 lung, giant lung. His blood vessels are bigger. He's got copper oxide for blood, similar to an octopus. His brain capacity 300 centimeters greater than ours. He has a thinking capacity, IQ, if you were to measure it, be totally off the scale, be about a 1200 IQ. He speaks 100 languages fluently, alien as well as others. He's a remarkable person. I had a chance to meet him one time. Now, by the way, he doesn't shake hands. And
I'll leave it at that. But when he says he speaks, what was it, 100 languages? Well, if your reality is this, and there's 178 worlds, speaking 100 languages is nothing unusual, is it? If he knows about the other... See, I've been reading about aliens for 30 odd years. And when I first got to the flat earth, I thought, well, it might not be true, because I was just thinking that the earth being flat and nothing else. But it's not. The earth being flat is a done deal as far as I'm concerned. That's as night follows day. It's what's beyond all that, and what's driving the things that are happening here. So there are bad beings out here, but there are also good beings out here who want what's best for us and are trying to do something. So it makes more sense to me now. If we think of planets as these different civilizations here, then everything they're talking about in the abduction world or whatever, then it all makes sense. It's just that what they've done, they've hijacked it and returned the word planet with a spheroid in space, which we know is a load of old bollocks. Yeah. So just when he's talking, bear that in mind, and it'll make sense. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go on to. I'm just getting the music back up. Let's go on to the bonkers story of the alien guest at the Pentagon. And funny how they show you this image here of Val Valiant Tour. So here we go. Brent Swanson, January 28, 2021. Quote, every once in a while there is a case in the field that really raises eyebrows. These are the cases in which even the most open-minded and willing to believe are sometimes left speechless and wondering what to think. Such stories have become almost legendary within the field. One of these is certainly the time a supposed Venusian emissary was a guest at the Pentagon. But they let this story out, right, because they're trying to push that Venus is far away, some planet far away from us. So they can push this false narrative, so they've hijacked it. But take that away and think about what I've showed you there and apply it to that. In the winter of 1957, Harley Andrew Byrd, nephew to the late Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd of the United States Navy, who was famous for, I'm sure a lot of them you know, Admiral Byrd, went on expeditions to the Arctic, expeditions to the Antarctic, spent 3 months in the Arctic in a shack on his own, and took the biggest peacetime fleet in history to root out the Nazis who had a base. Let me show you. Here we go. Shows you Hitler there. Had a base in New Schwabenland, which is beyond the 360-degree ice wall, where they have their breakaway civilization. It's still got it here today. But that's what he's pointing to out there. Okay, and that's what Admiral Byrd was told to go and root out. But he got his arse kicked. He had to come back with his tail between his legs. He lost planes, ships, and men. So, this is Admiral Byrd. And what did he famously say? Quote, there is a landmass bigger than America beyond the South Pole that has never been explored. Admiral Byrd. So, if that's the case, and here we are in the centre here, see what I mean by not confunding, putting their stuff all over it so you can't get a clear image? But that's, trust me, that's us in there, okay? So we've gone out there and we've been, the Nazis and Admiral Byrd have been in touch with beings out here. Okay? Who they are, we don't know. But they're aliens anyway. Extraterrestrials, not extraterrestrials. So, moving back. Who was a high-ranking official at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. and a part of Project Blue Book. got a harried and panicked call from the police department in Alexandria, Virginia. According to him, 2 policemen reported that they'd seen a UFO had landed in a field and that a tall man dressed in white had emerged claiming to be from the High Council and calling himself Valiant Tor. This being was then purportedly picked up and taken to the Pentagon, where he was introduced to the Undersecretary of Defense as well as Secretary of Defense Neil H. McElroy, and then given VIP status and hurried off to see the President of the United States himself, Dwight D. Eisenhower, as well as the Vice President of the time, Richard Nixon. According to Byrd, Valiant Tor was from Venus. And why would Valiant Tor be getting in touch with Richard Byrd? Because Byrd had already been in touch with him. Byrd had already made contact with his civilization, and that's why he came over. He wouldn't have come over here uninvited if he didn't feel as though he wasn't wanted. He came over here because he'd met Byrd when Byrd took that expedition out there. He just said there's a continent the size of America beyond the pole. You saw that quote, and this is what I think this is. Dwight D. Eisenhower, as well as the Vice President at the time, Richard Nixon. According to Byrd, Valiant Tor was from Venus. Right, if that's what that is, well, there's Venus. There's the lands of Venus right there. Which makes all the sense in the world. If that bird's gone out there and he's seen this out here, or whatever, it doesn't matter. But he's been in contact with somebody, that's why Valiant Tor came. There's the lands of Venus. The planet. A fraction or subsection of a much larger plane. A much larger plane. I'll keep drilling it and drilling it. 178 known worlds. Except they're a lot closer than what they're telling you. There are neighbours, and there are good ones out there, and there are bad ones out there. But unfortunately, at the moment, the bad ones are in charge, and we need to do something about it. So, back to this. Right, where were we now? Talks from Venus, yeah, Byrd would say. Commander James was on duty at the security clearance and review for the branch office of the Project Blue Book. He oversaw the meeting through official channels and reported the landing and meeting of the space emissary as he was labelled by the Department of Defence, obviously to keep the notion of space alive. That's why they immediately hijacked it. Space emissary as he labelled by the Department of Defence to a governing group of high military officials, including Secretary of Defence F.F. Forstall. Now, F.F. Forstall went into hospital and apparently was talking about all this stuff. Forstall was apparently talking to people about all this, and a couple of days later, the staff, the nurses and the doctors, and they said he committed suicide. He was thrown out of his bedroom window in the hospital. He was thrown out the window and into the street because he was talking. Look it up. Forstall and other scientific men, of which there were 12, they in turn made recommendations to the President and Cabinet members, the CIA, FBI, NSA and so on. The landing of Valiant Tor was perhaps the first documented landing of a human-type extraterrestrial by military officials. He contacted an individual in the Pentagon who was an advocate of the UFO alien situation. Nancy Warren in turn contacted a minister who was also a private investigator and theologian, a Dr. Frank E. Strangers, who then met with his individual. Dr. Strangers had been a guest speaker at the National Evangelistic Centre for 2 weeks. Don't know what's up with me this week. Val Tor landed in Alexandria and met with the President to discuss the world's problems and offer advice and counsel on how to deal with and eliminate them. He indicated to Mr. Eisenhower that the world was in a precarious situation and that if the world continued on proceeding on a war footing, it would cause an economic imbalance throughout the world. He indicated that his race of people lived and dwelled underground and that many of the planets throughout the universe, we call that what I've told you there, the universe, right? Okay, sustain life in the same manner. They all breathe air the same as us. They all eat the same as us. They all drink water the same as us. They're just variations on a theme. Okay. He also mentioned the ways of aliens who would land around the world to help with the Earth's seemingly insurmountable problems. He stated that a group from a distant system would be coming to give aid and data to help the Earth's progress. Alleged photo of Valentor, even though I showed you another one. Richard Nixon was apparently fascinated by Valthor and allegedly said to him, "You have certainly caused a stir. For an out-of-towner, of course, we're not totally convinced of anything just yet, but suffice it to say we are checking and double-checking everything you say and do. When Sergeant Young from Mount Cassandra radioed in and stated that you had just landed in a flying saucer, we thought Sergeant Young had flipped. Say, you were in on the UFO flat over Washington. You certainly had us all in a dither if you were." That's when all these UFOs flew over the White House. At the same time that Admiral Lee Byrd was out taking that fleet to get the breakaway civilization of the Nazis. That's what he was after, New Schwabenland. And that's why they sent their ships over the White House to say, don't mess with us because we've got more technology than you have. Simple as that. He told me that his purpose in coming was to help mankind return to the Lord. He told me that his purpose in coming was to help mankind return to the Lord. So even out here, in all these different civilizations and planets, they believe in God too. Think about that. It's not just for us. It's for all of creation, no matter what civilization they are. They're all created by the divine creator. I think that's very telling. Okay. He spoke in positive terms, always with a smile on his face. He said that man was further away from God than ever before. He said that man was further away from God than ever before. Think about that. That is so true. And he said that back in the 1950s. But there was still a good chance if man looks in the right place. Yeah, looks for God, looks for guidance, gets God into their lives. He told me his purpose in coming was to help mankind return to the Lord. He spoke in positive terms, always with a smile on his face. He said that man was farther away from God than ever before, but there was still a good chance if man looked in the right place. Apparently Valiant Tor stayed there in Washington DC for a full 3 years on this mysterious mission before suddenly dematerialising. He just went in 1960 to return to his home planet. The story was published in Strange's book and went on to become firmly entrenched in UFO lore as one of the most completely bizarre accounts on record, going on to be much discussed and debated. Yes, because they wanted it to be much discussed and debated. That's why you're getting images on Google, because they've sabotaged it to make you believe that only aliens can come from space on other balls spinning around billions of light years away in a 10 to the minus 17 tall vacuum, when in fact they're our neighbours. I wanted to do this video because I want to open up what I really think's going on here. So anyway, let's carry on. The story was published in Strange's book and went on to become firmly entrenched in UFO lore as one of the most completely bizarre accounts on record, going on to be much discussed and debated and even appearing on TV shows and in the media. However, if you have been paying attention so far, you will perhaps see why it has all drawn skeptics to it like moths to a flame. The list of gripes against this outlandish tale is long. For one, Venus is far from one would consider a traditionally habitable planet. See what I mean? Where they're trying to spin it now. So why would it produce a race of beings nearly indistinguishable from humans and also breathe air? Well, because they're our neighbours, that's why. Also, where is all of the evidence? He was here for 3 years, yet the only evidence that has been offered are some photographs of a man in a suit, said to be him, and one of a group of clean-cut young people who strangers claims to be Val, Don, Jill and Tanya, but who seriously could be anyone at all. It is all pretty flimsy at best, so this is supposed to be them. They're pals. Well, of course they're going to look like us. If this human form that we're in is just a variation, the only difference between them and us is they probably come from a very loving and caring, culture that everybody lives long lives because they're living nice, healthy lives, healthy food, breathing healthy air, are loved and nurtured, not like we are here. We're poisoned, the water and the food, the air, and whatever other type of stuff they want to get inside our bodies to kill us off. You know, I've done videos about it in the past. That tells you, when you look at them and you look at us, the only difference is they're not being oppressed. We are. Because we've got people in charge who worship Satan, demons. It's all the same thing. Valentor and his Venetian friends. Another is that the credentials of strangers and others involved in this case have been seriously called into question. There is no independent verification that Strange ever had top security clearance at the Pentagon, and his self-proclaimed credentials have also been challenged, such as his assertion that he has PhDs in psychology, philosophy and criminology. As there is no evidence that he ever earned such diplomas, it is curious, as he often calls himself Dr. Strangers, despite being unable to prove that this actually fits. Indeed, there is no real corroboration of any of the people involved in any way. There is no evidence that Harley Andrew Byrd ever had such top clearance at the Pentagon. Well, if it was Admiral Byrd's nephew or cousin or whatever, why not? Why wouldn't he? See how they just throw a little bit of misinformation there to keep you confused. Or even that he had any relation to Admiral Byrd at all. Brian Dunning at the site Skeptoid would say of him. No, we're not going to read what Brian says at Skeptoid. It certainly is pretty all out there, and is likely to be scoffed at by most in the general mainstream. Well, of course they are, because they're all robots. There are plenty of inconsistencies and red flags in the story, and yet it became a pretty indelible mainstay within the field. For some, it is one of the most persistent stories we like to brush under the carpet and pretend doesn't exist. For others, it is a point of debate and discussion. For others still, it is enough to make one just shrug their shoulders and wonder, was Strangers telling the truth, or is this all complete woo-woo nonsense? Whichever side you fall on, the story of Valiant Tor has become fairly legendary, and at the very least is another one of the many other truly bizarre cases that inevitably pop up from time to time. Okay, so that's about Valiant Tor. I tend to think that this image is the correct one here. So let's move on. Showed you that. Now I'm going to show you some books. To Men of Earth, Valiant Tor's Message of Hope to Mankind. Okay, just read you the abstract from it. Never has there been anything quite like it. Dr. Daniel Fry, an engineer in charge of the installation of instruments for missile control and guidance at White Sands Proving Ground near Los Cruces, New Mexico, was whisked away on an 8,000-mile flying saucer ride from White Sands to New York City and back. This begins his instruction by the illustrious Venetian thinker Commander Valiant Tor, who wanted everyone on Earth to understand that truth about our existence. Well, great, because he's going to tell you what I've been telling you for a start, that we're all neighbours, that we're all immortal, that we're all created by God, and that we can live in harmony if we have the right people in charge, and we have spiritually minded people in charge. Holy men, philosophers, spiritually mature, intelligent people. And when you look at people like Jacinda Ardern, Justin Trudeau, Rishi Sunak, Joe Biden, none of them fit that bill, do they? Not one. That's because we're all World Economic Forum stooges. The special reprint from Gray's book New Saurian Catalogue features an introduction by Valiant Tor, and afterward by Tor's second-in-command Captain Indrid Cold, and an epilogue by Barker. So that's one book you could go and have a read. This is another one. And then you say, right, what books are there about people who have left this realm and gone to other realms? Well, this one, Worlds Beyond the Poles, by F. Amandeo Giannini. Worlds Beyond the Poles, physical continuity of the universe. Note, physical continuity of the universe. The enclosed pages contain the first and only description of the realistic universe of land, water, oxygen and vegetation, where human and other forms of animal life abound. Yeah, and that's another thing. In this reality here, there is no scarcity. There is abundance of everything. There is no scarcity of anything. God didn't create this place to have scarcity. He meant it to be abundant and to be shared out equally, and to everybody have equal amounts of whatever, or equal opportunities of whatever. I mean, life is what you make it. Of course it is. You're going to sit on your arse and do nothing. You're never going to achieve anything. I mean, I've always called myself a jack of all trades and a master of nothing. I've been a professional soldier. I worked in the fashion business for years. I went to university and did an acting degree and became an actor for a few years. I had my own theatre company. Then I got married, then I got divorced, and then I went into Buddhism and became a monk. Then I came out of there, and now I'm here. And now I'm with my partner. So I'm a jack of all trades and a master of nothing. But I'm glad I am, because that's what was meant for me. That's what karma was meant for me, to happen to me. But there is no scarcity. Look at it. Look at the size of it. It might not be to scale, and I'm sorry I couldn't get you a clear image, but this resonates for me. This is what's going on. So let's move on. So let's read on with this. Where human and other forms of animal life abound, this is not a work of fiction, nor is it a technical analysis of anything. It is a simple recital of fact which transcends the most elaborate fiction ever conceived. It projects man's first understanding of the factual and endless universe which contains human life throughout its vast length and width, regardless of all abstract theory to the contrary. It is the view of the author that the earth is flat, a plane, and stationary as the Bible also depicts it to be. Right, there's one evidence of worlds beyond the poles. And this guy in this book goes out. This was in 1902, 1903, where people were free to go out there. There was no Antarctic treaty, there was nobody stopping you going out there. There was no NASA form to make you think space exists. None of that existed, because we lived in a freer, more open culture back then than we did now. I just wish I remember when I was alive in 1902, because I was at some point, at some age. Just wish I could access those memories. So, do more meditation, that's what I need to do. The next book you can look at, and these books are by Nos Confunden, right? The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls Beyond the Antarctica. This is by Nos Confunden. I'm going to show you one of their videos in a minute. This book, the abstract is the story of navigator William Morris, who, after the Independence War in the United States, decides to investigate with his new vessel the waters surrounding the Antarctic Circle. Finding an unknown passage to an open sea, other lands await him, behind along with another civilization. The stories still begin to reveal to the entire group another reality based on the true past and future of the human being. It will finally lead him to the discovery of other worlds behind the Antarctica, and most importantly, to know himself, a unique journey from which nothing will ever be the same again. So there's another book, another evidence of people who have gone out there and written about it. And another one, The Lands of Mars. Mars, where's Mars on here? Lands of Mars, here, there it is. So you can talk about all these different planets because they're planets, but the normal person who's not initiated just thinks they're talking about planets in space. Just a slight misdirection which changes the whole face of it. But keep that view in mind. What we're talking about here are our neighbours in this huge plane. Okay, let's read the abstract. 178 Worlds Under the Great Dome, Volume 1, the collection of the hidden books about lands beyond the ice walls. The lands of Mars hide much more than we imagine. Here we can read the stories of the origin of the Martians in conjunction with the ancestral expeditions of the human who live behind the ice walls. Chapter 1, where does the information from other worlds come from? Chapter 2, Mars, a great zoo. And this one is the Iron Republic, edited by C.J. Austin. Okay, this is another story of people who went when you were free to go past the 61st parallel, the 260-degree ice wall. When people were free, when there was no Antarctic treaty to try and keep us hemmed in, when people were free to travel anywhere, unhindered. This is another book. First published as a monthly serial in Florida magazine in 1902. The Iron Republic tells an extraordinary story of Mr. E.W. Barrington's sea journey in the late 1800s to Antarctica, where he found a passageway through the massive ice wall and a highly developed civilization, both technologically and socially speaking. Either as fact or fiction, it is a rare story and presents an ideal of society and government that will make the average reader long to be a citizen of the newly discovered Iron Republic. Well, they're the lucky ones, aren't they? Because we've had to put up with this shit. You know, when you realise that there's other people out there who have got better lives than us and are treated with fucking respect, it pisses me right off. Right, let's move on. 2. This is an Oscar funding video, okay? So it's just a wee story. So, let me go to that. Hope you like the background music. It's on a loop. I'm experimenting. I bought some new sounds and that lot. So, let's crack on with this. Now, he's Spanish and speaks with quite a bad English accent. So, I'll put the subtitles underneath for you to read, okay? Here we go. You can see the map here, but like he does, he throws all this stuff in front of the screen all the time because he doesn't want anybody getting a clear image of it, because you've got to buy the books and you've got to buy the posters. I think he just overdoes it a little bit too much, but like I say, he's the only one out there who's on the same sort of view as I am. It's like a trailer.
The ancestral expedition, the writings of Captain Rold. In addition to the data collected by the custodians in times of the Great War, there are also histories of Ancestral Republic navigators who ventured into exploration with giant technology on a risky passage to the coarse waters of Morse. Long ago, a surviving navigator,
Leonardo da Vinci,
Sorry about that.
once known before the last reset, had the idea of visiting lands across the second dome or membrane. And set out with 3 other companions on their adventure to those lands. Although it was well enough known that there were dangerous lands and that they were possibly humans who had been betrayed their own brothers to inhabit them. Captain Roll's team was not deterred at all, and using the help of ancient technology from the ancient giant humans, they were able to reach the gate of the great icebergs near the bird channels or strait. These were not times for visit, although perhaps it is never a good time to enter lands controlled by the enemy. Overcoming the passage was the most complicated to avoid the raiders, and that tidal waves or earthquakes are generated in the frozen areas of the ice walls. And then, when crossing them, they could also receive them with any type of automatic weaponry of attack by intrusion. They managed to break through the 2 most complex points in their dome membrane. This is the record still kept in the archives of the giant humans of the Ice of Thoth, and the Republic History Centers. Captain Roll, we signed the land of Aeria and are nearing descent. We have apparently not been detected as marked by the Cry 58 anti-radar. Base, understood. Gather the necessary information and please approach the ring, point B. Captain Roll, copy that. We will start our return at the stipulated time. But the previously stipulated time passed very quickly, and from the base there were received no more news. A climate of growing concern was generated, although there were several escape plans. The reality is that the mission carried an extremely high risk because they could not rescue them. There was no possibility of visualizing their real position. Besides, if they were kidnapped, they will also know sooner or later the lands that the ancestors occupied after the escape from the known lands. One of the 4 members of the team communicated to the base in code, reporting that they were on their way back but had been attacked, and the body of the captain was lying dead in the ship. Once again, they were attacked on their way back, but they were able to get through each and every one of them. They were able to return in one piece to the base in the ancient lands of Fanak.
And I'll leave it at that because I think after this it's just a load of advertisements because, like I said, they're very commercial, very commercial. But let's have a look at the Antarctic Treaty. This is the thing that stops us getting out. This is what they all signed to keep us in. Now, I'm not going to tell you what it is, you know what it is. I'm just going to show you the countries that signed it. Obviously, all of them. The original signatories were Argentina, Australia, well, Argentina obviously because they're right near the ice wall. Argentina, Australia, they're right near the ice wall as well. Belgium, Chile, France, Japan, New Zealand, of course, Norway, of course, Russia, South Africa, United Kingdom and United States. And then the ratification, the ascension, 61, 87, so all these countries eventually joined. And then the consultative status, not a lot of them do. Chile, China, Bulgaria, Belgium, Australia, Argentina, Germany, India, Italy, they're all in on it because they've all been told to sign it, to all cooperate and to stop us getting out. Now, Beyond the Ice Wall is the caption for tonight. So I've done this is my 4th in the series of Beyond Flat Earth Beyond the Ice Wall. Flat Earth Beyond the Ice Wall, I was totting it up the other night on my Flat Earth reality channel. It's had 11,000 views. On BitChute on one of it, it's had like 6,000. So I've totted it up. I think it's had about 35 to 40,000 views. It's my most watched video of all time. And so what I'm going to show you is this is Captain Robert Scott. This is his 1912 archive, right, of his images. These are the images that have just been found and weren't shown to the public. This is where he's gone past the ice wall and he's got images of civilizations that were once there. When the climate was temperate, because you know what I think about climate change and what it is. It's something to do with something like this. Obviously, it's a bigger region, but there's something going on about climate change, how this is changing and moving, okay, and it moves around us. So places that were once cold are now hot, and places that were once hot are now cold. Now, in this area here 1,000 years ago, it was temperate because there were ruins here. There are actual photographs of ancient ruins and statues, and I'm going to show you them. I'm going to turn off, don't need to have the music, we've got this. We'll just take you through the images. So this is Captain Robert Scott, 1912 archive. Look at this. Stone structures. Stone. There's a lake there. Here we go. We'll stop that. Look at this. This was a town or a city of some kind. These were taken in 1912 before the Antarctic sun. That is a house here. Also here, look. Parts of buildings here. Any fool can see this. Why aren't we showing this in school? Because they don't want you to know. This what lays more evidence to hide what's really going on here, guys. So that's alright. Let me just go back. I missed that. Yeah. See, look, right angles. That doesn't come about in nature. This is a building. More stonework. There you go. There's a column here. Just might have been the centre of some kind of town or something like that. It's been absolutely obliterated. Who knows what went off? Some war. There are wars going on right now in this massive plain. If you call the universe the large plain. Of course there are fights going on. There's fights going on all the time. It's just we don't know about it. That's definitely a penguin there. Another structure there. Yeah. More stonework, more reliefs. There's a pyramid there, look. Step pyramid. Try and tell me that's not man-made or human-made, because they're all humans on these different planets, these different civilizations. They're all humans. They're all breathing air. They're all eating food and do the same as us, except they live longer. Some of them live longer and are more intelligent, yeah, because they live in a better environment and they're very happy there. Not this miserable existence we've got here, because this place has been locked off and blocked off by somebody or something that doesn't like us very much and is attacking us on every angle. And you know who I think that is? More shit. See it? Flat. Yeah, look at this. Arches, stonework, buildings. Why aren't we showing this at all? Now here it looks like a load of frozen swords here. These are swords. See the handles? They probably took some of them with them. They're in the Smithsonian or the British Museum in a vault somewhere, locked away, like all the giant skeletons and stuff like that, and all the ancient technology. Look at this. Look at that. Pretty obvious, guys, what it is. There's a ship again. Archway there. See it? So it's... This isn't ice, that's crystal. It's crystallised. It's been there for that long. It's actually crystallised onto the stone. There you go again. See, look, the right angles there. Straight lines. No straight lines in nature, guys. Obviously there's a statue at the top. Columns everywhere. Columns along here as well. You know, archers build stonework. It's undeniable, guys. You can't get away from it. This is in Antarctica. These photos were taken in 1912. These are locals there. It's like some kind of burial site, grave site. Probably their ancestors. The archway there, probably a burial mound there. Wonder what was in there. They must have took stuff away. Let's put it that way. Like I did in the Grand Canyon, when they blocked the Grand Canyon off, parts of the Grand Canyon, so people can't get in to the massive underground system there. See the statues, the Buddha statues, and the Indian Shiva statues. Nobody's allowed in. Same with this as well. That shows what we got. Oh, we can't have anybody knowing about this. This might let everybody know that that there are other civilizations living next door to us. They aren't billions of light years away in space. They're our neighbours. God, it pisses me off, guys. It's on such a monumental scale, man. It's outrageous. There you go, another building there. Here as well. Statue. Yep. Statues of people. There goes one there as well. It's replete. There's a body, head. That's very Tartarian, that. That's a sort of look at the Tartarian Empire. Who said that Tartarian Empire back in the 16th century or whenever was the predominant culture in this realm and other realms, and that they were pushed out and pushed away. Now, who knows that if the Tartarians aren't on another planet not far from us? Who knows? We don't know, do we? Looks freaking human to me. So do these two. Eyes, ears. There's a big. That's a big statue there. I think there's another one here. Right angles, columns. There's a bridge there. See the arch there. Somewhat flattened all of it. Well, most of it. There's another pyramid there, step pyramid. Column here. Another building here. So that's into that. So some images there of the Antarctic, of civilizations out there. What more proof can I show you? And then we talk about the breakaway civilizations, because the Nazis knew all about it. He did. That's why they put a base out there. That's why Admiral Byrd went chasing after him to try and root him out, because he was already in cahoots with other civilizations. That's why he had advanced technology. At the beginning of the war, they had technology that we didn't have, and that's why they nearly won it. But he made mistakes, and then America joined the war, and then we ended up winning it. So they say. Whether that's true or not, that's another matter. I seem to think that the Fourth Reich is here now. Project Paperclip, when they brought in over 400 Nazi space rocket scientists to start NASA, that tells you everything that's going on. So, breakaway civilizations. Who's to say that there aren't an elite group of humans living out here? Living out here or out here? Let me show you another. It doesn't really matter, but there could be a breakaway civilization that's living out here, that's controlling what's going on in here. We don't know. Something stinks. This is a good book, Sources, Swastikas and Psyops, A History of a Breakaway Civilization, Hidden Aerospace Technologies and Psychological Operations. Oxford-educated historian Farrell continues his best-selling book series on suppressed technology, Nazi survival and the post-war psyops with his new book Sources, Swastikas and Psyops. Farrell discusses SS Commando Otto Skorzeny, George Adamski, the alleged Hannibal, which was the Nazi flying saucers, and Vril Kraft of the Third Reich. The strange case of Dr. Hermann Oberth, Nazis in the US and their connections to UFO contactees. Memes and idea of behaviour spread from person to person within a culture are implants. Adamski's ET message, the danger of weaponised, that's rubbish, and tons more. What do the following things have in common? George Adamski, fascist, Nazi scientists, American engineers, the CIA, the Wall Street Morgan interest, IG Farben, ITT, SS Commando, Otto Skorzeny, the post-war Nazi International, American intelligence and the mafia drug lords. Answer, they are all components of a breakaway civilization, seeking to protect its control over advanced technologies and to project itself into... That's not right. This is where the double shuffle comes in. They give you a little bit of truth and then say it's out in space. It's not. Forget that. When he's think about what we're talking about here when he talks about that. Into outer space while waging a covert war here on Earth with the same advanced technologies, and the rest of humanity be damned. Join internationally known researcher Joseph P. Farrell in his next chapter in his expose of secret Nazi wartime and post-war research that began in the SS Brotherhood of the Nazi Bell and Nazi International. So, breakaway civilizations as well. I think there is the elites, the high-ups in the Freemasons, the high-ups in the occult. You know, I don't think they're hanging around here. I don't think they're living here. I think they're living in another landmass, not far away from this one that's hidden from us, where they live long lives, where they're supposed to have things called med beds, where you lie in these beds and they do I don't know, some kind of technology. I don't know too much about them, but I've heard about med beds, where they can cure anything, basically prolong your life or whatever. Who knows? But there's something going on. And we've got this, you know, you want evidence of other civilizations having influence over here. Look at these coins here. Look at this ancient coin found here. And an alien grey here. Very similar. And who get put on coins? Royalty, people, important people or important beings. Why is that being on a coin? Is he in charge of here? Because they live long lives. In the Sumerian literature, the gods lived for 30 to 40,000 years. So, you know, 10 here, 70, 80 years is nothing. That's like a 2-month holiday for him. Or it, or whatever it is. But I've got some other images here to show you as well. There's the same image there. And this is a spaceship. Now, most people would say, oh, the aliens were visiting. No, and it was us. We had this technology then. We've had that technology before. We'll have it again, and we've still got it. It's just kept from us this time. That's what they've done. Let's move it on. That's that same coin in isolation. Oh, come on. There again, and look at the back. I don't know if it's the back of that coin. 1656. Another flying saucer. There's a dude, and I've got one more to show you. Where is it? There it is. Now this is a slam dunker. This one. Man discovers extraterrestrial coin in roll of quarters. I've mentioned this before in previous videos, but you're in a factory, you know, the Federal Reserve's printing out money. It's got a stamp that's going on coins. Who would set up the template for that to hit that coin? Well, just once it was an accident. What, it was just a malfunction by the machine and that came out? I don't think so. That is probably money destined for these places out here. This is a better image, that's why I'm showing this close one, but we're here. This money could be going out to there, or there, or there, or there, or there. See, this central realm that we're living in could be a factory. It could be just a factory where we're slaves here anyway. We're just working away, building them product. And we might be producing other kinds of technology for them that we don't know about. Hidden technology. That's why we get glimpses of it. But it's actually we're making it for them. This is, in China, they lock people in factories and make them work 18, 20 hours a day. Well, it's the same sort of thing that's happening to us here. They've locked us down in here, fooled us into thinking we're living on a ball in a 10 to the minus 17 tour vacuum, spinning in space at 1,000 miles an hour whilst hurtling through space with the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, while the galaxy's travelling at 490,000 miles an hour. It's ridiculous. And so, this is, we're a prison colony. Look at the way we're treated, for crying out loud. Look at the way it's going right now. It's not going to, honestly, like I said at the beginning of the video, I can't see it getting any better until we start fighting back and doing something. And people need to give themselves a good fucking shake, a wake up, and get God into their lives. Now that money's been printed, yeah? Let's go back to it. Where is it? Here it is. That just doesn't get a one-off print. There's a batch of them, and somehow that's contaminated the money that we get. This is in 1937. It says Liberty on it. It looks like the same dude that I showed you on the other coin. What do you think? Could it be the same dude? Is it the same dude? Who knows? Who knows? So what else have I got away for you? I think that's it for this week. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was something that I wanted to expand on because I keep saying that my view of what's going on here is changing, and I'm always saying it's a bigger than the one that I usually show you. But I've tried to home in on that tonight and show you some evidences for it. You've got Jean-Claude Juncker, leader of the EU, openly telling people that he's speaking to other beings from other planets far away, and the definition for planet is a fraction or subsection of a much larger plane. And the people in the European Parliament, as he's talking about this subject, are not even blinking an eyelid. Nigel Farage, the British MP, who's now a big media guy in England, he's not even bothered looking up. So obviously it's common knowledge, because Nigel Farage is a Freemason and all. It's common knowledge to these people what's really going on. Except for us, the slaves, the no-marks, the deadbeats, the arse ends. Well, I guess, let me tell you something right now. You may think I am, but I know that I am a divine being created by the Lord God Almighty who goes from life to life. I have an immortal consciousness. The body dies and I get another one. That's what makes me special. And we're powerful spiritual beings. Start meditating, guys. Start drinking distilled water. And as Jesus Christ said, as you believe, so shall you be. Because they want you to think that you're nothing, when in fact we're everything. And by the look of this map here, obviously I'm only going by this map, it looks like we're the centre of it anyway. But I think there are beings out there who want what's best for us and are trying to help us. The only difference to what I was reading about 30 years ago, oh, I have got some stuff to read here. I forgot all about it. I'm not done yet, guys. I wanted to read you a couple of things. And just to show you how long I've been reading about stuff. This is Disneyland of the God, John A. Keel, okay? I'm going to read you a couple of little excerpts from this book by John Keel. Let me get my glasses. Right. I know they're one kid, but there you go. Alright, so it's getting worse, guys. Right. This is are we supplying ultra-terrestrials? Listen to this. We don't claim that people from another planet are stealing wire, glass and weather vanes from us, but the record proves that some kind of phantom burglars were busy 100 years ago and are still active today. Some investigators, perplexed by the absence of clues in many of these cases, are seriously wondering if we may not be unwittingly supplying a strange, extra-dimensional world with raw materials. Yeah, the factory supplying everybody else. Right. Obviously, someone or something needs enormous quantities of animal and human blood. And we have been furnishing it for hundreds of years. Yeah, that's by John Keel, a well-known abduction researcher. I've had this book for years. Right, where's the next story? Here we go. Right, here's the next one. Serving man on a platter. Several years ago, a short story appeared describing how the flying saucers arrive on Earth and their pilots quickly win us over with their wisdom and kindness. They even offer to transport large numbers of Earthlings to another planet for a new, more fruitful life. Millions of people clamour to make the trip. Huge spaceships arrive to collect these willing emigrants. In the course of the story, a book discarded by one of the spacemen falls into the hands of a scholar who laboriously translates it. This book is titled How to Serve Man. The story ends with the revelation that it is a cookbook. Now, I've done previous videos on why I think they're taking body parts, fetal tissue and God knows what else. The late Ivan T. Sanderson, a great Fortean thinker, reached a similar conclusion. He suggested that the Earth was a gigantic farm and that we, mankind, are only the crop. It's not some idiot saying this. This is I.T. Sanderson, a great thinker and intellectual. But if you give it just a little thought, you will realise that billions of people have understood and believed this very thing for thousands of years. This belief is the foundation of all our great religions. And there's one more bit I want to read here from you. I think we are property, and this is by Charles Fort, who read this is Charles Fort's book, The Book of the Damned by Charles Fort. Reports of UFOs, cryptoids, spontaneous combustion and other strange occurrences. This was in the time before there wasn't the internet or anything. That was written in like 1903, 4, 5 or something like that. And he went into dusty old libraries and collected stories and manuscripts and written it all down. Apparently walked around with his pockets full of notes and stuff on the back of fag packets and pieces of paper. And that's how it was done in the old days. So you've got Charles Fort to thank for that. Right, this is what he says. I think we are property. Charles Fort recognised the subtle warp and woof of human history when he stated, I think we are property. Someone owns this earth. All others warned off. The gods were at one time very real, and their directives to mankind were not initiated out of concern for the human condition, but calculated to protect the earth itself. Man was caught up as the pawn in some dark and forbidding celestial chess game. Events that seemed totally senseless to one generation would suddenly acquire important meaning several generations later. We tried to rationalise our predicament with inventive theologies and cosmologies. We rewrote history until it matched our ideals and concealed our often ugly motivations. Our true history became myth, and our myths became our substitute for history. This part of history and prehistory, which lay beyond our feeble memories, was filled in for by entities who professed to belong to the Watchers, and oral history was passed on to the men who consorted with the Watchers, the Freemasons, and we accepted much of it without question. After the great libraries of China and Egypt were destroyed, our prophets filled in the lost chapters of human progress. We passed through ages of magic when superstition and fear of the unknown cast deep shadows across the human psyche. Later, when we embraced anew the cosmic overlords and became enslaved in the Dark Ages, we rewrote history again in 1848. We began the long, painful escape from the God-King system and entered the modern industrial age. Political ideologies replaced religion as the forces which moved us, and the old gods grew misty and mythical, while the new gods, the alleged beings from outer space, appeared in our farm fields. Is Ishtar the self-proclaimed chief of the Intergalactic Federation, or merely an updated version of Ashtaroth, who is basically Inanna, who was the wife of Baal, Ashtaroth, Lilith, the occult? He's bringing in gender, the warping of gender and all that, and gay pride. I've showed you the video on Ashtaroth and her worship and our energies coming in. And you've got to look at what's happening in the LGBTQ community at the moment and what's happening. the multi-breasted goddess of the ancients, whose priests were transgender. They said that she could turn men into women and women into men, and that the male were eunuchs that had the genitals cut off, and they did parades. And the last one I'm going to show you is The Threat by David Jacobs, PhD. These aren't idiots writing these books, guys. Yeah, that's why I'm reading them to you. Because when you take what I'm looking at here and put it what's on the screen. Let me just take that down again. And look at it on the screen there. It all makes sense. Right, life as we know it. I'll keep that like that. The aliens continuously refer to the future. They say it will be better for humans and aliens. When they impregnate women, they say the women are carrying the future. They refer to the children of the future. They talk about a change coming, a difficult change, but an inevitable one, the Great Reset. What we are seeing in the abduction phenomena is apparently a process. Everything that has happened to the abductees and all the aliens' activities are part of a process leading to a predetermined goal for the future. That process has been continuing for the entire 20th century, and at some point in the near future it will end and the goal will be achieved. Contrary to the optimistic predictions of the positives, I do not like what I see for the future. And the more information I gather about the abduction phenomenon, the more ominous the picture looks. When the end comes, and it will come, what will happen to humanity? I have had an aversion to addressing this question, referring to ignore it. In a sense, it is easier and more comforting to listen to people's abduction accounts, try to make sense of what is happening, and not confront the implications for the future of what they are saying. The accounts are so extraordinary that it is easy to get lost in the minutiae of alien procedures and avoid taking a step back to gain perspective on where all this is leading. But in spite of my reluctance, it must be done. The aliens have brought to Earth a highly efficient program of human physiological exploitation. The breeding and hybridization programs have intruded upon our world and taken control of abductees' lives. The aliens have explained to the abductees that these programs are needed to salvage the future. They have focused their communications with the abductees on the need to save the environment. Yeah, just like what they're doing now. On the need to prevent or at least cope with mass destruction, and on the benefits of the change, the Great Reset. This is all what's been going on since 2019. It's all to do with this. Which is the way some of them refer to the culminating event in their plans for the future. But just who will benefit from the change? The Threat. Great book. Now it all makes sense. When you see these aliens are not coming from space, but from out here in these other regions, it all makes sense, guys. So that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy it. That passage about Val Valiant Thor, I didn't read it all the way through because I wanted to surprise myself. I didn't realise that he said to bring us nearer to God. So basically what he's saying is, I'm gonna have to bring this up again, that it's not just us who believe in God or created by God. Obviously, possibly all of these other civilizations were created by the great architect. Some don't believe in God, the dark ones, and there are out there, but there's others who do believe in God, the same as us. So, again, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you all in the next video. God bless you all.